Let's go for the actual score. Europa Natural
Greetings, humanity, and welcome to Europa Natural Law, a roundtable transmission dedicated to healing the madness, badness, and sadness plaguing our beautiful, bountiful world. Through regaining our sanity, reclaiming our inborn sovereignty, and honoring our inherent responsibility, we can improve reality. I'm Nemo Jones, reporting for Beauty from Devonshire, Albion, where I write, speak, sing, and cook for reason, freedom, and beauty. You can find all my links on the World Wide Web at nemojones.com. And we have a good sized panel today. So if I get hopefully that group, then we can go in order. So you guys are up. Would you like to tell us just names and where you're from, basically, at this point, and then I'll come back to you.
My name's Jeffrey Phillips. I'm from California. I'm 46.
Allie, also from California, Light Occult Revival.
Cool. Welcome.
Andrea, I'm from Devon in Albion also.
My name is Florence. I'm from the Netherlands, Lunteren.
Hi, I'm Yvonne. I'm also from Albion, Norfolk.
Good old Albion. Great place to visit. Quite exquisite. But I'm out here in France, which is cool as well. Bonjour.
Bonjour. And we're going to be talking about what a awesome subject, anarchy. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to this. But before we get stuck into that, let's just welcome Jeffrey and Ali. And the question I like to ask people is like how you came to be in this world of natural law, like the history, what the thread was that brought you to this kind of movement, as it were, or this calling.
In 2008, I was radicalized by a guy named Ron Paul, who ran for president in the United States. And in 2012, I ended up doing a lot of grassroots activism for him. And during that time, I was introduced to Mark Passio. I wasn't really ready yet to tackle spirituality, so I kind of put him on the back burner. He introduced me to anarchy. I was a minarchist libertarian basically before, and Mark helped open my eyes to anarchism. And yeah, and then now years went by, and Ali reintroduced me to Mark and natural law, and I was able to. She kind of presented it in a way to me that I was able to pay attention to, and then it turned out I've been an animal rights activist my whole life, and then it turned out that Mark, went vegan and all that stuff. So that kind of really got me super back into natural law and Mark and doing great work.
Yep, and that's kind of how our Jeffrey and I's paths have crossed. We had a pretty similar story. I was also minarchist, hardcore libertarian, supported Ron Paul, and actually kind of came into the whole world of, I guess, like peeking behind the curtain, so to speak. And then in 2014, through Scott Onstott's work, Secrets in Plain Sight, which is like a classic YouTube series talking about sacred geometry and the alignment of things, places and cities across the world. Anyways, through that, someone in the comments mentioned or was asking Scott directly, have you heard of Mark Passio? And so I just started watching links, and then also was pretty much came to find through him that I was an anarchist and found natural law. And yeah.
Cool. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it's the base, one of the most, it always seems to be a subject every time where I'm like, this is so fundamental, the subject. I know I've said that before, but yes, the subject of anarchy. And so I'm just going to do a little introduction. Obviously, the thing about anarchy that needs to be said really again and again and again is that there's two definitions, really. There's the original actual meaning. Hey, Kat. The original etymological actual meaning of the word, which is without ruler. And then there is the later sort of, I would say, complete bastardization of the word and kind of interpretation of the word, which has become wielded as a weapon against the true value of the word. So, oh, sorry, I'll swap to me while I'm talking. Guys.
It's okay.
And yeah, so that's a fundamental thing that is just so central to me. It's a key. It's a huge key to look at that and to really contemplate that, what's happened with that word, you know, because obviously everyone's familiar with the second definition, the secondary definition. Oh, it means chaos. It means disorder. And it's like the definition itself is almost like just simply that which causes you fear. You know, it's like the thing that you don't want. You don't want uncertainty. You don't want mayhem. You don't want, you know, crazy stuff happening. So it's kind of, it's like primed to give you this primal response of fear, basically, when you hear the word. And but when we look at the actual definition, what it actually means, you know, to be without ruler. You know, I've been just thinking about this with the show coming up, and I just think this is such a simple thing here that I wanted to kind of open with, which is that we do everything we do, all the things that we do that we love doing, some, you know, a lot of the things that we do that we don't like doing, whatever, just the things of life, you know, the actions that we take all the time, interactions, societal, you know, exchanges of energy, company, you know, all of the ways that we interact as humanity are done essentially without rule, without ruler. That's the actual reality that we really inhabit and embody with our very lives. And so the idea of the arc, the ruler, you know, it really is just an idea. And, you know, it's a really bad idea. And its power is only within the mind. Because to have a, you know, a civilization, as I said, everything we love about civilization and the things that we do love about humanity, which is a lot, you know, is nothing to do with a ruler. There's no one needs to rule any of that, you know, and that's our actual experience. So I just wanted to sort of open with that, and then I'll open it up to whoever wants to jump in, basically.
All right. Well, let's just get the definition clear and concise, because yeah, Nemo, you alluded to the fact that a lot of people want to equate anarchy to chaos and disorder and whatever the hell, and that's part of the programming from the somewhat considered archons. Although, you know, like, well, let's break down the word real quick. You know, archon, anarchy, an suffix for without, an archon meaning ruler, in the sense of ruling over subjects, as if they are, you know, they're slaves, or you know, which is not in accord to natural law, because if we're going to be taking it to real freedom, that has to exist under the conditions where people are aligned and living within the premises of natural law, meaning understanding objective morality and not infringing and causing harm upon other individual lives. So that extends as well to the animal realm, if we're going to be completely honest and 100% with this. So someone who is a sovereign being, who is without archons above them or within them and all this stuff, who are the archons exactly, and who is controlling your thought? And you could take it to thoth, which means thought in the occult realm. And if you are not the master of your mind, your thoughts, then someone else is. And that's just how, take it to the word government of mind control, gubernare, and mens mente, and all these things, to govern, to control the mind. So there's a lot of things to consider with anarchy that are not discussed in like the more commonplace discussions of the word and when this term is brought up, because they have just a really surface level idea of what it is. And normally it's under the premise of like anarchy is like like people running around trying to cause chaos, and like the Antifa Quifa folks and whatever the hell, and not really understanding that it's just more or less people trying to not be under any kind of rulership and just live in peace, and voila, kind of. I like to take it to the Shire, folks out there in Devonshire and all that, or wherever, thinking about the Tolkien lore and that kind of stuff. Just imagine living in I forget the name, Bag End, right? In the Shire. And like you're not subject to any kind of rulership. There's a community, there are certain guidelines and things to respect, for sure. That's going to be in any kind of community forum and this and that wants to put down certain codes and guidelines and things to adhere to. And people have the free will to either adhere to that or not. That is what makes one more sovereign, of being able to choose and having a proper discernment of making that choice that is aligned to natural law and just like codes of creation and all this stuff. So I know I mentioned a good amount of vague things a little bit, but yeah, try to bring the abstract into more realistic terms, because we've seen a lot of things on the movie screens and whatever through allegory and other types of stories that make a lot of sense. And to end it real quick, because people need to understand straight out the gate, the first cosmic law principle is mentalism. And you could take it to someone like Bob Marley, right? With that good old song that millions of people have sung, yet have not really taken into practice, in regards to emancipating yourself from mental slavery, because none but ourselves can free our mind. And it really starts from there. So I'll end it with that. And yeah, cheers, Ria. Let the music play, right?
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned like, the Shire, Lord of the Rings. We have the media gives us these stand-ins, right, for these epic stories, these heroes that are essentially trying to spread morality and freedom. And then we take the word anarchy. What is the context of that word in the modern day? It's chaos. That's the exact thing that all humans really, when we get down to the core, we all want freedom. But that is it's the co-opt of that word and that meaning. That's why it's so important to learn about the origins of these words, just because the deception is it's all around us. It's the Matrix, so to speak. But we have these epic tales and stories and movies, and it's people can watch these movies and look at these heroes and be like, wow, it's so great, that story is so awesome, but they can't apply it to the environment and the society around them. And so it's just going back to what you were saying, Derek. It's why, like, it's so important for us to deprogram, because even amongst the freedom movement, like, it's hard. We can't escape culture. We can't escape the cult that we're surrounded by, whether it's the media programming, our diets, everything. The deception runs deep, and every movement gets co-opted. Definitions get co-opted all around us all the time. It's just wild to dive deeper and see how deep the deception runs.
I'm going to jump in. I'd like to say welcome to Ali and Jeffrey. Thanks for coming over. Yeah, the word anarchy, like what I was brought up with, it is, sort of being at the tail end of the punk era. It was, I don't know, it kind of, as a young kid, it did seem like pretty chaotic. But what secret I feel has been left out is when people talk about anarchy, it is internal, having internal monarchy, like being the governor of your own being, like being in charge of your own body, as in your own health, being in charge of your own emotions, and being in charge of your own mental attitude and your spirit. So that's what's missing when people talk about, like, just in the general public, about anarchy. Like, if with that bit missing, if people haven't taken on board and taken ownership of all those things that I've just mentioned, then it will be fucking chaos, because people have not actually taken on board that responsibility in the first place. So we probably would see chaos around us. So hence why it is really important that people learn to, be their only authority within first.
But can I, sorry, Jay, I'll come to you in a sec. I just wanted to say, I feel like this is chaos. This is moral chaos.
No, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? So, yeah,
Yeah.
I think agreed. Yeah, Drea.
Well, when psychopathy has been normalized and psychopathy has been glorified almost, it's like our leaders are mentalists. They are psychopaths, and they are interested in, I'm going to lose my thread. We've got psychopaths leading us at the moment. The government is unfit, and we need to stop acquiescing to their demands. And I've had enough of it, which is why I'm here. I had enough of it when I was 15, and that was a long time ago. So anarchy for me is a word I first heard when I was probably about, well, actually what it was, I went to Spain when I was a kid, and I kept seeing A. And because my name's Andrea, I kept seeing these A's sprayed in circles, and it really called to me. I thought it was like my initial. And I was like, oh, yeah, what's that? What's that? And then when I found out, I was like, okay. And I come from the same town as where big punk band, the Subhumans, came from. And they were the Wessex anarchists, and they were playing in all the local venues to where I was. So I kind of got exposed to their lyrics. And Dick, who's their lead singer, is an amazing writer, an amazing thinker. And I got really turned onto the ideas of anarchy through their work. And also just that internal sense of like, I don't like this system. It all feels wrong. It upset my inner compass of what's right and wrong. I think I was blessed with having a pretty strong moral compass. I knew if I'd done something that was wrong. I knew, I just knew. And so, yeah, anarchy for me has been like you said, Derek, it's a mental state. It's freedom of mind, and it's freedom to do what you want to do with your mind. You know, at the moment, we're not allowed, legally not allowed to take psychedelics. Well, why would that be? You know, cognitive liberty is a big thing for me. The freedom to be able to think what you want to think and be able to create what you want to create. And yeah, the expansion of human consciousness is the reason that I'm here with you guys doing natural law. I want to live in a brighter, nicer world. I want to part, you know, I see myself as a caretaker here. You know, how do I pass on a better world? And it's not through following this ridiculous statism and government mind control that we're living under. You know, it's programming from the minute you get up. You know, go to school, get programmed, watch the programs on TV. Anyway, I'll stop now. Someone else can have a go. I might come back in a minute.
I would like to add something. Yes, well, I've been studying this subject, especially from my own personal experience at the moment. It was Mark who taught me about, well, the natural law expressions and how duality within creates, well, control without. So it all comes down to this universal laws. And when I look at myself, I think, because I was listening to you guys and I thought, because for a long time I was thinking in, you know, like perpetrator victim themes. But at this moment I'm struggling a bit because of course we are in this world which is under control and we are subject to mind control. But if the outside world is a mirror of our inside world, then which came first? Was it the chicken or the egg, you know? So when there's no control on the inside and we have all these beings who are divided within, of course there has to be some form of control and it will come from the outside. I'm not saying that it's good, but it starts within. When there's a unity consciousness within us as beings, then there's no need for control. And then we're also aligned to these natural laws, because I think the duality within comes from not accepting reality as it is, or not accepting life for what it is. I watch Stargate and I like it very much. And there are wraith in there. They're like this vampire beings. And one of them says in one show, defiance tastes like life itself. And I think that is so profound, because unity consciousness only comes when we come into acceptance of what is. And paradoxically, then we are able to change things. So everything is such a big paradox. Yeah. So it's all about the self with the capital S, because the self is the essence within, and that is aligned to natural law, that is aligned to nature. And we as human beings are so far away from nature at the moment, and we are so hungry for control and power. I mean, in the Netherlands, they are giving cows vaccines because they fart too much. You know, how crazy is this, and how can someone believe this? So there is so much wrong with our minds, and we as human beings are very sick, I guess. But yeah, what I also wanted to say is that nature, to be commanded, have to be obeyed. So it's about becoming humble as human beings, and yeah, coming to know what are our rights. And I think if we look at nature, that is the cosmic mirror. The society we made, that is the adversary. That doesn't show us anything about ourselves or about our nature. Or so, yeah, for me, this is because I've been far away from myself, and well, I've been a people pleaser, so I haven't had very much control over myself. So this subject is for me, very profound, and I really try to understand it psychologically. So that is the basis.
So going back to going back to what Nemo was talking about earlier, where like government being not government, but anarchy being in her mind, you know, like most people are very like a lot of been in the freedom movement a long time, long enough to have been a faker for a long time, and to come out of it and to look back and recognize that, you know, like I was talking about, you know, being exposed to Mark Passio in 2011 and like getting it, but like not really getting it and not really taking it serious and just wanting to socialize and just like make videos and kind of just like be someone in the movement. But without really any serious purpose outside of, oh, just we need to get rid of this government because the government sucks, you know, and like, you know, everyone, all us truthers are perfect, you know, all us truthers, all us guys in the freedom movement, all of us, we're all perfect, and the government's the problem, and you know, outward pointing all day long, and you know, it takes a lot of shadow work to unlearn the toxic shit the powers that be spent, you know, decades drilling into our heads. And a lot of people, you know, the majority of the people, especially in the freedom movement, are still in the statist mindset. They've not headed their life in a direction of agorism. Agorism is the fine art of eliminating government out of your life and taking material support away from the state. Taxation, you know, like stop. You know, once you realize what they're doing with that money, you have to take away. You can't just bend over and take it like everyone else does. You got to set your life in a different direction of doing less harm and getting away from the satanic cities and the satanic system that we've grown up in. The materialism really steals a lot of freedom from a lot of people. It's wild how much, you know, people will just give their entire lives away to have a new car every 3 years, and to do all the, you know, and like buying a new car creates a new taxable entity, just like having a child does, and that car will produce support. Financial income for the government to drop bombs on brown kids overseas in our name for the next several decades. That car will create money for the government, and you know, like simple things like that, just getting out of the mindset of materialism and removing yourself from the system through voluntarism, which is you know, voluntarily living by the axiom of non-aggression or the non-aggression principle, and agorism, which is getting government out of your life. I saw one of my favorite pieces of literature is called Chaos Theory by a guy named Robert Murphy. He was a Louis von Mises guy. It really blew me away. I have several versions of it on my YouTube, but if you check it out, it's just basically what a anarchist society would look like, and the pros and cons and all the arguments about it. And it's really one of the most, you know, outside of Mark's work, one of the most important pieces that I've come across in the last 15 years that I've been hanging out doing this kind of thing.
Could you just repeat the name of the author?
Chaos Theory by Robert Murphy.
Cool. Thanks. Yeah, I haven't heard of that one.
I have a couple of versions of it. I've done like a kind of an updated version with like commentary over it because it's kind of an old piece, but it's a really good. Just, you know, any kind of it was Mark and that piece that really converted me from a minarchist to a full-on anarchist. And ever since then, I've been trying to, you know, just take a chunk out of the harm that we just all do mindlessly psychopathically, just trying to be like everyone else, and just trying to like not cause too many waves and be a part of society. But anyway, I'll let everyone go. I could just keep going, so I'm gonna step back.
Yeah, it's interesting what you're saying, Jeffrey. What it stimulates in me, what you've brought up about slowly disconnecting yourself from being reliant on the system. I'm not 100% convinced. I don't know. I lived in the woods for a good couple of years and was like lived a totally, total disconnection from society, and it still kind of didn't give me the answers because I had like this this pining in me that the powers that be, I won't even call them government, I'd call them the dark forces, they were still coming in anyway. I don't think there's it's a really difficult balance, Jeffrey, because ideally that's where we want to be. We want to be connected to nature. But say in this country, for instance, it's very, very difficult to live off the land because the government is still coming in anyway. They're making it very difficult for people to live like that. There's land grabbing going on. There's USCA's coming in and taking over. I do genuinely feel that the only answer and the only way we're gonna all experience anarchy is through the teaching of natural law. I think that is the only way, and it has to be happening en masse. Otherwise, I don't know. I just feel, even though I feel pretty free within myself because of the work that I've done on myself, I'm still very consciously aware that the fucking darkness or whatever is still coming in. There's no escaping it. That's what I'm trying to say. Just wanted to get that point across that there is no escaping it.
I feel for you. Live in the UK, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a open air prison, man. I
Tell me about it.
I could not imagine. I mean, I live in California, which is pretty bad, but it's nowhere near. You're in a much different situation than I am. So it's easy for me. California is huge.
Yeah,
you've
got big space.
And even like Los Angeles is so big that it's kind of anarchy land because there's not enough state to watch everyone. But we have, you can drive in any direction in California and be in the wilderness, in the desert, in the mountains. It's very different than being on an island. So, you do have the option of leaving there, but it is a big sacrifice and step. So, I do feel for you being there because it's a rough place.
I've contemplated it, Jeffrey, leaving many times, but I won't move. I'm so fucking stubborn. I won't move because I feel as though I'll go back to the internal monarchy. Like I don't have no fear. Yeah. So whatever happens to me externally, I'm not moving. I'm not.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate what you're saying. I'd love to go to America just to experience that open space and the open stars at night. I would love it.
Oh yeah, no, it's beautiful to visit for sure.
Yeah.
I just had to say, we all need to create communities where we're at. So I agree with you. You shouldn't leave. You should start, I know there's freedom cells, stuff like that. You should definitely, because that's anarchy, starting your own community, supporting that community, that's kind of like, for us guys, that's what it means to be a man. You take care of yourself, then you start taking care of everyone around you. It's kind of the same idea. It's really hard in the cities, but it can be done. But it's tough, it's definitely tough. And like we live in a really small town now, and I lived in Central America for a long time in just the tiniest little fishing village. And it really opens your eyes to, you know, like what you can do in a small community, but everyone can have that small community in their giant city. It's just a lot harder. And it's tough, but you know, I definitely agree that you should stay where you're from and you should try and make that place a better place.
I agree with that. And I remember when a lot of my friends were leaving the country after poll tax riots back in the 80s and moving out to make intentional communities in other countries. They were like, oh, come. I was like, no, I don't know. There's something that draws me to this land, you know, that draws me to this land that I was born on. And I want to, everywhere I've gone, I've tried to make community. It's like community for me is a word, is common unity. You know, what is it that binds us together? And I think when you're building a community, you need to have that common unity of what binds us together. But I feel like we're a bit not talking about anarchy quite as much as I'd like. So for me, anarchy is self-determination, self-organization, freedom of association, and underpinning all of that is mutual aid. You know, how we are intrinsically linked as humanity. You know, it's when one of us suffers, all of us suffer. And it's, for me, anarchism is that recognizing that interconnectedness of all beings, where we share this earth together, and none of us has a right to tell someone else what to do. You know, it like healthy people get on with their own thing, they mind their own business, you know, because they, if left alone, people will just create. They'll create gardens, they'll create families, they'll create friendships, and their community will thrive and grow. It's only when other people want to create a system of control and coercion through taxes. It's like, so our kids get sent to school so they can get a job, and they get trained in loads of things that they're maybe not interested in, and have this broad education, when in actual fact, if left to their own devices, kids will do what interests them and follow those interests. I'm a big fan of interest-led learning. You know, like, what does that kid want to do? What's that kid's interest? Come on, let's feed that interest. Let's do that and let people develop into individuals who recognize their part, because we all have individual talents, we all have individual skills, and school knocks that out, you know. And people are, oh, I'm rubbish at this. It's like, well, that's because you don't need to know that, you know. I'm a big one for following your passion, follow your interests, and mind your own bloody business. And by that, I mean, like, literally, mind your business. Get on with what is your business and engage when people say, can you help me? And remember that we're all one piece of a massive jigsaw puzzle that makes a beautiful, beautiful picture if we want it to, you know. And that what it is to be a sovereign being is that internal monarchy, you know, having control of yourself. I remember being on road protests back in the early 90s and sitting with some friends of mine, and we were discussing anarchy at the time and going, well, you know, really it isn't about no rules, or it's about, you know, if we don't want the police, we have to make it be that there's no need for the police, because nobody's doing things that need policing, you know. So it's this thing around freedom and morality that really needs to be looked at. And currently, the word morality sort of has connotations of church and sort of, I don't know. I'd like to do a vox pop, actually. What does morality? Hey, what does morality mean to you? Hey, and go and see what people have got to say. You know, because as we know sitting here, that the level of morality is directly related to the level of freedom we can experience. In the meantime, how are we going to get... We've just got to do us, haven't we? And all we can do is lead by example and make our way of life and our way of being really attractive and something that other people want, and go, I want to live a life like that. I don't want to live a life like this. You know, we're constantly being told by the advertisers, oh, you're not good enough because you haven't got that car. Oh, you know, this whole concept of aspirational. I'm like, huh? What, like, oh, I haven't got enough, I've got to get more. Oh, the robbers are going to come. We better get a camera. We better get an Amazon camera that spies on you. And do you know what? They've even, those Amazon cameras, they've actually even used them to, the police have used them to gather evidence. It's like, trust, faith, love.
Yeah. Let's review a couple of things you mentioned, because it's been on my mind quite fresh in regards to, piecing the puzzles together. People have a certain set of pieces to this jigsaw puzzle of this clusterfuck of unconscious, subconscious, you know, the Gordy knot of entangled, you know, shit that we're in, right? In regards to slavery and all these things, and chaos and disorder, and how they're trying to, you know, bring about a new world order or new world odor through chaos. Because it stinks like shit, and it's like, you know, same shit, different smell, and whatever the hell that they're bringing up with, you know, people they're trying to post up on, you know, these mantles for others to vote for and worship and all that stuff. But so people need a specific guidance as well, as far as, you know, like just going about willy-nilly and stuff. They hijacked education and stuff, and we have to raise the seeds with proper codes of conduct and consciousness, right? And what you mentioned is a good thing to bring up in regards to school, Andrea. People are conditioned at a very early age to respect these, you know, authority figures, right? And then it's like it goes from, you know, the parents, which is pretty legitimate for the most part, and you gotta obviously discern and distinguish between conscious parents and unconscious parents and all this stuff, right? Because unconscious parents were just, you know, going through this negative feedback loop of, you know, rinse, wash, and repeat of, you know, what they've been conditioned to, and kind of going over that cycle, right? And for the young people to kind of break these cycles, recognize the false figures of authority from a very early age, whether it be through your parents that are, you know, immoral, whether it be through the teachers that are acting immoral. And then you're going to see, you know, that, you know, like the news, north, east, west, south, right? News, you know, goes around all throughout in propagandic ways and all this stuff. And then they'll realize that, like these puppets in office that people are voting for, these false figures of authority, they're not in alignment to natural law. And so for people to really embody that internal monarchy, right? Mono, one, archon being like the ruler of. So you're going to be the ruler of your own self. It doesn't mean like, oh, look at me. I'm a human vessel with, 3 trillion cells. Like, do as I command. Abracadabra, mother lovers, whatever, right? Are people actually acting in accordance to the real thrice great, that archetype of consciousness that we should all be aspiring to be, and breathing life into existence within ourselves and to this reality of mastering our thoughts, emotions, and actions? 1, 2, 3, mon ami, in the place to be, thrice great. So that is really embodying the centerpiece of being enlightened, right? The pillars of masculine, feminine, take no shit, do no harm, right? How do we get there? Especially when people are not at that level. And hey, that's okay. Like we kind of mentioned, it's a process. And we have to flip the script on the perspective and worldview that we currently have. So this is, the archetype of Odin as well, of sacrificing yourself unto the tree of knowledge, Yggdrasil, if you will, to really make a change and enter through the gates of wisdom to dissolve the paradox within this polarized planet that we're living in, so you can really be in balance with the two pillars again, right? Because you have to enter through these gates of wisdom before you can really be a true mage on the stage, to wield these elements, to be the true quintessential being, to be that proper expression of a sovereign being in this reality, right? So that's just a little tarot tour of things in relation to being a proper spiritual anarchist, and ridding yourself from all types of archonic entities, from the exterior to the interior, right? We have to understand the law of correspondence in regards to the gut-brain connection as well, because what are people consuming in regards to like GMOs and other products that contain parasites? We have to purge ourselves from these parasites to really be a pure, proper vessel in alignment of natural law. And where do you find a lot of parasites in? Fucking like pork and fish and that kind of stuff, right? So things to consider. And again, it's a process for people to take steps towards being in that anarchistic mind state of wanting to do better and achieve that on a daily basis type of thing. I like to call it a daily operation, trying to untangle yourself from this Gordian knot. And you got to whip out that Excalibur and cut the cords of some of this shit, right? So there's a stark difference between an anarchist and an antichrist, right? So little wordplay on that. Nemo, back to you, because I haven't heard from you in a minute, brother.
I wanted to jump in. There's a few things. One is like the actual meaning of it's the word anarchist. So really, I think it's just important. It's kind of etymological detail, but for me, what I'd like to call myself is actually an anarch, which is just someone without a ruler. Because the E, and especially the ist, the ism, turning something into an ism, I don't think is ever actually very clever. And if you look into the etymology of that ism, that formulation, it's kind of dodgy. I think it's like it seems to be about turning something into a system, and also placing it at the center of everything, making it be the one thing that's important. And I think so. I'd kind of like going off like the concept of anarchism, but I'd like to consider myself an anarch because I don't have a ruler, an external ruler. So that's just a little kind of side note. But I think I really wanted to get into like why talk about this, because obviously we talked behind the scenes about the possibility of having someone doing like playing devil's advocate on the show, and this would have been quite a good one to do that, actually, because of course there's all the arguments, but who would build the roads, blah blah blah, all of these kind of things that we're used to. But in a way, I think to kind of maybe sidestep that discussion, it's I just wanted to address why I want to talk about anarchism or anarchy, a world of anarchs, and it's because I want heaven on earth, and that is anarchy. The two are the same, or universal enlightenment is another way of thinking about it. That's what they all mean the same thing. And so talking about anarchy for me is just, it is academic in a sense in the age we're in, because we're in this totally deluded, insane time when people are in just layers and layers and layers of deeply held delusions and obfuscations and misconceptions and, you know, beliefs that they've picked up wherever that make them feel comfortable, and that they attach their ego, you know, their sense of safety in themselves too, so you can't challenge their belief with facts because blah blah, you know, all of this stuff. It's like we're in such a mess of ideas that we're nowhere near. And that's not to say that it couldn't shift very quickly. I do believe that there is the potential of that, but in terms of actual spiritual maturity, or, you know, or just the perhaps it's, if you want to talk circular terms, we're in, you know, we're at the bottom, you know, or we're near the bottom. Hopefully we're coming out of the bottom of a long period of complete delusion in the world. And so talking about anarchy in this context, where people are so in the mind control and so in the social engineering and so in the materialism and the hedonism and the narcissism and the determinism and this and that, you know, the solipsism, all of the mess of beliefs that people are in, we're a million miles from being, you know, from anarchy. And as I said, it's not to say that a transformation can't happen quickly. I think it can. I don't see why it can't, potentially. But, you know, for me, the reason to talk about this subject is not this idea, because when you start to talk about it, people say, they're like, oh, you're trying to do that right now. And it's like, well, no, I'm trying to mature to a point where that is inevitable, where that is the result of my actions, and, well, of my actions, because that's all I have control over, you know. So I'm trying to do what I can to mature myself, and then to help others to mature spiritually. And the result of that is anarchy. You know, that's the inevitable result of that process. So it's not I'm just trying to sort of sidestep this thing where people want to jump to the conclusion and say, oh, well, you can't be an anarchist. Anarchy wouldn't work because blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, no, anarchy can't work. It's not a system that can be imposed. It's a state that is evolved into by mature, enlightened people. And it's completely possible for us as a people to become universally enlightened and mature. It's not even that difficult, actually. It just takes courage and persistence and being able to say that you were wrong. You know, that will get you there. You know, and the will to seek truth. You know, so anyway, yeah, that's a little piece I want to say.
It takes a lot of shadow work to become ungovernable. On my podcast, I interview lots of vegan YouTubers, and they usually end up being liberal. And it's really shocking to see how distracted these amazing activists are by the other party, you know. A lot of people, it's shocking to see people, you know, smart people believe in something and represent something that they don't actually believe in just to fit their party. A lot of, and I think, like, right now, the truth movement's probably bigger than it ever has. The freedom movement is bigger than it's ever been. But people are still in the status mindset, and you know, they just don't represent, you know, they're fanarchists. They're fans of the idea of anarchy, but they don't do it in their daily life. They aren't heading their life in a direction that removes themselves from the problem. And you also have to do activism while you remove yourself from the problem. You also have to do activism to enlighten others. And it's just a lot of people just get stuck pointing the finger at government and complaining about government when the biggest problem is the man in the mirror.
Yeah.
A lot of people got to step out of the two-party paradigm. That's like a big thing, and like completely out, because it's all a distraction. The political system in all our countries is a distraction from the fact that we don't have any choice about anything whatsoever. So spending any energy on it when you could be spending energy for the truth. It kind of, I see a lot of fanarchists get caught up on government and politics and politicians and stuff, even though when they claim to know that it's all bogus, they still get caught up in it. But that's about it.
Yeah, when you say so, Jeffrey, I was thinking to become, to have internal anarchy is also maybe, how do you say it? Sorry, my English is not always so good, but a lot of people have fear and they look for parents or authoritative figures to guide or lead them. So it comes with self-responsibility in every point of life. So that's huge. That's a big responsibility. And the question is, are people willing to take this responsibility? And when it comes to external anarchy, it can only come from the expression of love. That made me think of what you just said, Nemo, that you want heaven on earth. And Jesus was also an anarchist. And he said that the law is God. So then we come back to that. But I was thinking what I want to say. Sorry, I have to come to the point that I want to make. But what I wanted to say, that maybe it's not only the mind, but people are in so much fear. So there has to be some safety inside a being to take more steps to self-responsibility. And that's what I liked about what you said, Tria, about creating communities and leading by example, because a lot of people can't imagine a world without rulers, because their imagination is so stifled. So it has to take deep programming and deconditioning to become one with our essence within, and then to show people another way to live in harmony with nature and with each other. So yeah, that was for me also why I took a little break, because I noticed that I have difficulty with connecting to others. So how can I take a leading example when I'm not free? So it all comes to shadow work, what Jeffrey said. And then I think when our minds are open, we just know, and we will know what to do. And yeah.
So when you said we'll know and we'll know what to do, it just reminded me in the moment of, like during COVID, when people just moved into mutual aid like it was normal and like they'd always done it, like dropping dinners round for people and going, oh, we need to go and check in on those people and see that they're okay. Are they, just that. It's the natural way that people are. And it's only through the fact that this manipulation and control of government has been normalized, that it's just been seen that, oh no, this is just the way it is, and people don't want to step out of line, and they're watching the telly and they're horrified by what they see, and someone should do something about this. Yeah, maybe you could. You know, it's like, I think people have become spectators on the world situation. Oh, it's not my job to do that. Oh, someone else should get on with that. You know, why haven't those bins been emptied? Or oh, why hasn't that been done? And it's like, well, get the fuck on with it then. Do it. You know, it's like during the 90s and from in the UK with free parties and squatting and protest, it became called the DIY movement. Do it yourself, because we could see no one was going to come and do it for us. We were taking over empty buildings and then just like everyone doing them up all together. You know, who's got this, who's got that? You know, there's enough stuff already in the world that, you know, I was walking down the road in where I live today and I just saw, you know, all these bits of timber and things like that. And I thought, well, if everything did come to a grinding halt, oh, please don't let it. There's enough stuff around, you know, we've just got to get on with the real grassroots stuff of it and growing food. And that's where our real issue in the UK is access to land. You know, it's a real case of fuck your jobs. I don't want a job to pay tax so I can buy food. Fuck your jobs. We want land. And there we go. That's the end of that bit.
Yeah, Yvonne, tell me
Yeah.
what's up with that.
Yeah. And I'll come back to that, Dre. No, I was just thinking about any external authority that I've ever had dealings with, even since a young girl at school. They've never done me any favors. They've done nothing but fucking piss me off or taken from me, or I don't know. What I can't understand why anyone would ever want any external authority. Why? Like, what experience have you guys had with any external authority, like government or the police? Why do you think we actually need police? Nemo, you was talking about being devil's advocate. I can't think of anything, any reason why people think that you would actually need a police force. Why? Did they actually stop
from dangerous, from scary, ill people?
Yeah, but look, think about it. Do they ever stop crime? Ever? No, they're only there to make money out of the crime. They don't ever stop crime.
I think government is it's a stand-in for that need for community. So that's another total co-opt of that, essentially humans wanting freedom, wanting connection, wanting a community that can sustain itself and take care of itself. That's our natural form, so to speak. But government is that stand-in that, you know, that we have. It's not just a fear of, okay, who's going to take care of us? Is it going to be big daddy government or big mommy government? It's an actual true need of humans to be able to work together in order to improve conditions for ourselves and all the beings around us. So that's part of the reason why agorism is so important to look into, and counter economics, and just the whole idea of the free market and voluntary exchange. Again, that's another one that's kind of co-opted. We think of free market, we think of super like people into like crypto and finance, but and money and currencies. And again, total co-opt. True currency is time, attention, and how we express love and connection with other human beings. It's through organic processes. It's through the free market. It's not through this external top-down hierarchy of control. But I think Yvonne, going back to your question, I think that's a big thing for people, is just that it is a stand-in for the community that's just not there and present in society. Whether you're in a big city or off the grid, again, I think that's like a balance, right? Like, we don't have to be off grid and just live off the land. While it's for some people that might be great, and just it's not necessary. We have to make anarchy at home, so to speak, and influence the communities around us and make it attractive for people, make the state's options just not really look that great. Because yeah, look at cops, the military. Like, most people on the street you talk to, if you were to show them, okay, like the reality of a cop doing their job and enforcing immoral laws, most people are going to be like, yeah, that's not, I don't agree with that, I don't support that. So again, it's just that getting back to that organic connection and giving people options and living by example so they can move towards that, and not necessarily, you know, being in their face, be like, ah, screw the government. Well, that works for some people. There needs to be that support, that community support.
In a tight community, the level heads of that community will find far better ways of dealing with the rare bad actor than government ever can. Government guarantees bad actors by employing police officers to walk around and steal money from people, like Yvonne was saying. So you know, like Ali said, the government tries to be community, but they're spending the least amount of money and time on the most amount of people. And that's kind of where the inherent problem with government comes. They're trying to do too much. That it's quite utopian. People say anarchy is utopian, but government being successful is utopian.
Yeah, I love. I think it's so important, that aspect, the psychological aspect of the parental role. You know, and we've talked before about the right wing and the left wing. You know, appealing to the masculine and the feminine, and the, you know, fulfilling the role of the mother and father. And it's you know, there's no mistake. Obviously, that's all very, very considered. And I think I just wanted to kind of restate it, because I feel like it's something that I think many people miss. You know, we're so used to the rhetoric of government. You know, it's the consent of the governed, and just these kind of, you know, platitudes of like how it's for the best of the all, you know, the majority. But I don't know, there's a kind of, I don't know, vacuousness about how government is kind of presented. But actually, I think you really nailed it, that there's something like underneath that's nothing, not to do with intellect, it's not to do with reasoning, it's to do with literally, you know, on the one, with one hand, viciously, violently, systematically dismantling actual living, you know, natural law societies, and with the other hand creating something that's a kind of like a hungry ghost in a way, which is what I, you know, would call any corporation or a state, which is just another corporation, creating this thing in such a way that it does fulfill, in a completely dark aspect, the role of the parent. And it actually does, or the parents rather, and it does genuinely fulfill those roles, and it does also genuinely fulfill the roles of you know, the community, in terms of, for instance, firefighters, this kind of thing, you know. So there's this whole way in which this foundation, it's not just an intellectual thing, it's very much actually aimed at our hearts. It's actually aimed at this kind of emotional framework of replacing everything that's of true value with this kind of fake shell of the state. You know, I think that's a kind of huge thing. I just thought it's really worth emphasizing.
One more story, then I'll shut up. I lived in Central America for a while, and I lived in a town with very, very little government. And I was in the market one day getting some vegetables. And in town, I'd noticed there was a man that would walk around kind of screaming. He had Tourette's or something. And he'd seem very violent. And he would run around and yell and kind of like scare people. And I was in the market one day, and he came in and he was screaming and yelling. And several of the ladies that work in the market jumped up and ran over to him, grabbed him, and started dancing with him and dancing with him and dancing with him. And they turned him around and sent him out the door. And he had a big smile on his face. And I was just like blown away. You know, no government necessary, no police necessary. The community, you know, that was one of those ladies' nephews or something, and they know his condition because the community is small and they grew up with the guy, and so they know how to deal with him. He just needs to be danced with every once in a while. He just needs some attention. You know, and in the States, you know, where we're from, you know, people just call the cops, and the cops come with guns and often hurt those people. Do the complete opposite of natural law. It's pretty crazy, but yeah, that's about it.
Cool story. And yeah, it kind of harkens back to like it takes a village and all this stuff, especially one that hasn't been raped and pillaged, right? And you know, that has, you know, integral families that have been able to purge this, you know, generational trauma cycle that I was kind of alluding to and all this stuff, and like getting back to conscious parents, because conscious parents would be raising their seeds or their babies and children to not respect these false figures of authority, to have proper authority within themselves. They are the authors of their own life. They're gonna, every individual on this planet is the author of their own book of life. And what are they contributing to the whole collective, right? So that's what we're kind of evoking as far as, you know, being on a more conscious path and just doing right and living by righteous principles and all this stuff. And yeah, you could kind of see it as, you know, things you might catch in movies with like the Jedi in Star Wars going against the Sith and all this stuff. Yet, you know, you see them kind of acquiescing to, you know, like, oh, we got to protect the senator and all this stuff, and then having a blind eye to the Sith Lord. That, you know, so there's things to consider in regards to the trickster. And that's kind of why I alluded to the magician card, because this is at a place. It's supposed to come after one enters through the gates of wisdom, which is the high priestess and all these things, to really get that balanced masculine, feminine aligned to natural law with that unity consciousness, which is what, you know, Florence, Flora, you were, you know, speaking about before. Mon amour, right now. In a agape sense, you know. So yeah, it's just in conclusion, to end this part, this video on my end, of just what it is to be an anarchist or a voluntarist or an abolitionist, right? There's different terms and semantics people can throw out and align to or kind of lip service towards, yet not really living by those certain principles and codes, right? Yeah, there's the anarchist by name people, and like, oh, you're anarchap, you know, there's so many subdivisions of a specific genre of, oh, you're a freedom fighter or anarchist or blah fucking blah. Like, are you aligned to natural law at the end of the day? You know, that's why it's like the catchphrase is so cool but pertinent to, like, hey, you got that natural law? I hear you're talking about things that correspond with that, but, you know, are you living by these things? That's what matters in the end, my friend. So yeah, and understand that the archons, to really rid yourself and be an archon and not be a ist and fall into the isms and these fucking mental schisms and whatever that Nemo was talking about, right? Yeah, like I was alluding to, purging yourself from these, you know, the mind viruses and the parasites that, you know, as above, so below, right? So there are archonic implants within us in this fallen time matrix that people need to understand as well. So activating yourself more and more and more is the way to go. And yeah.
And doing the shadow work, Derek? It's doing the shadow work and the self-reflection and just going, how am I showing up in the world, and who, you know, because that, I think is one of the biggest things that I was, you know, when I was full-time activist, was seeing people who were out there with genuine, you know, they genuinely wanted to be taking care of the planet, clearly, but being on the front line with them, I was watching them playing out their mummy and daddy authority issues with the police, and just like, it was like, oh, and I had to stop going out and doing that kind of thing. And I trained to be a healer so that I could deal with people's shadows and, you know, being confronted with my own, as I am on the daily. You know, it's when we're living in such a sick society, getting better and making it not a stigma to get better, you know, that is get well. And for people to understand what being well actually is, you know, because in the healthy condition of man, your vital force will guide you to your inspiration, will take you, and people will follow their inspiration and live doing right action that's the right for them and for the people around them. And yeah, it really is a case of everybody getting well. You know.
Yeah, and what I want to add, because I said then we will know what to do, but that sounds a little bit fake. But to contribute to what Derek and Drea were saying is that in objective reality, everything is interconnected, like Drea said. So it's not normal for a human being to have hatred, to be egotistic. We normalize these things because we live like this for ages, but it's not the natural normal state of a human being. That's why I said earlier that only love as a expression can lead to external anarchy. And that's where Jesus, his teachings were about. He was also against authority. He was clearly on that. You can read the work of Leo Tolstoy. He translated the teachings. He thought about it, and he looked at the words, the real etymology of the words, and he points to this. So it comes down to looking at where we as human beings are trying to force our own little will onto something or someone else. Because you can do that at the macrocosm, and we see that, the powers that be do that. But we can also do it on a microcosm, and it happens in family systems, it happens in relationships, it happens in the street. So yeah, it really comes down to purging all fear, all hatred out of our human collective heart. And it's a lot of work, but it's the only fucking way. So yeah.
Amazing. Any kind of closing thoughts before I kind of wrap it up?
Yeah, I'd like to say something. Just listening to all you guys. When I think of the word, or the idea of trying to spread the word of anarchy, there's some, I don't know if I'm not being a defeatist, I'm being a realist. I really don't, it kind of goes in line with what Florin was just saying, like trying to convince anyone else to be in that state. Like I walk out my door and I'm very consciously aware that there's not many people out where I live that would be even open to that. I don't know if it's well, I'm pretty sure that it is the vax. I think it's completely switched off something in people, and I just think the best way forward is to strengthen that within yourself. Strengthen it within yourself. And I know that possibly sounds a bit Satanist because I'm mentioning the word self, but I think if each person takes responsibility for their state of mind, their emotions, and their body, just say within this panel, that's all we can do. There's plenty of information out there for people if they want to learn about these things. And I'm just getting to a stage where I used to be quite a rescuer and wanting to sort of go out to people and go, oh, like, do this, do that, do this. Oh, this is the way, that's the way. I've got to the point now I just think there's no point. I'm not going to say that I'm not going to open my mouth and do the great work. That's what I intend to do, but it'd be there for people that come across it or are interested or want to listen. I think as a collective, I don't know, I kind of feel as though we're coming to some kind of end times anyway, and all these systems are going to start. The more people that take it on and do the work within themselves and try and manifest something the way you want to live externally, the more people do that and take responsibility, the old systems are going to collapse anyway because they won't be needed. They just won't be needed. Because I'm sure if you want to go back to what everyone says, who's going to build the roads? Well, we'll just build our own roads. Don't worry about it.
People will do what needs to be done.
Yeah,
because that's what people do,
Mm-hmm.
And if it needs doing, someone will do it, and hopefully a collective of people who will do it, because they're like, oh, we need to get to Auntie Barbara's house. It's a bloody mess.
Yeah.
You need to, and it will happen.
Things are going to get chaotic, folks, so fucking get on board and start learning about yourself.
I think what I wanted to come back with you, Yvonne, is that I feel very much like the time for trying to convert people is done. The converting time is done. We can only, live by example and share the love and just keep turning up for ourselves, like just look after ourselves, drink good water, eat good food, be healthy, and hope that the people around us go, I might have to have a go at doing it a bit like that, because, and I really do think that's the only way we can move things forward at this point, is share the information, have conversations like this, put it out and invite people to come and join us. And if they come, that's brilliant. And if they don't, well, invite them again. Mm-hmm. And just live by example in it all day, every day. Yeah. And, learn from nature. Because for me, it's like onwards and upwards like the flowers, and rise and shine like the motherfucking sun.
Yeah, I had a brief discussion with someone today just about it was about consumer. It was about ethical consumerism or ethical, buying in quotes ethical products. And I was just quite surprised to hear that they were just saying, "Oh, it's like," they said, "It's like pissing into the wind," And I said, "Well, isn't that what we're here to do?" It's like, it's obvious the wind's blowing the wrong fucking way, but it's like, what's life if you're not making an effort? See, Drea's laughing there. Yeah. It's like, and I learned this in Buddhism as well, which, is all about natural law, actually. It's just a different kind of concept, different conceptualization of it, but make the cause. Just make the cause. Don't worry about any of the effects, the ones that are coming in from stuff in the past or the ones that you're making, or the ones that someone else is making. You make the cause. Just make it now, make it now, make it now. Oh, you fucked up, make a good cause. Oh, you did great, make a good cause. Just constantly pursue right action and the truth. That's the warrior's way, basically. That's what we're here to do, and that's the way towards anarchy. And it's not, it's in the, you know, it's up to God or whatever your conception, it's up to nature, up to the way that happens and when we get there, and whether it's in our lifetimes or in 1,000 lifetimes. But you know, making the calls is really all it comes down to in the end.
Yeah, staying firm. That's what you're saying, Nemo, isn't it? Like staying firm. Like we are actually living natural law anyway. Like the chaos around us is a consequence of the decisions from fucking eons ago. Our parents, grandparents. So it's just staying firm and yeah, everything that you do in life, you're consciously aware of the effect that you're having. And as you say, being the causal point. So going back to Jeffrey, what you were saying at the beginning about living a lifestyle that's like connected to nature and like and maybe growing your own food and doing all that, they're all brilliant things to do. They are brilliant things to do. Yeah. That's you living how you want to live. And being the causal point. So yeah, I'm not being like negative when I'm saying like I've kind of sort of given up, but I'm just sort of trying to be a realist that it's tough. It's fucking tough to I'm nowhere near living like my full potential because there's so many people out there that are not even like consciously aware. It's very, very difficult to actually live the life that you want to live. But yeah, I'm just navigating my way through the fucking chaos at the minute because it is pretty chaotic. And yeah, stay firm and hold on to just being true to yourself, and that's all we can do at this moment, really.
Yeah, be on the right side of history and not fall into his story about these things and all that stuff. The false authority bullshit.
Yeah, fuck them.
And I think the thing about chaos, you know, it's like because there's this kind of this external kind of appearance of order in a way in the world as it is. It's easy to kind of miss, you know, and I think it's really worth considering the concept of moral chaos, because that is the reality I think of that we're inhabiting now. I would call it moral chaos. You know, there's no, you don't know when something is going to be just or unjust. It's just what, you know, it's just chaos. There's no kind of reason going on in the moral sense, even though there are lots of systems and we have kind of semblance of civilization and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah. Jeffrey, were you going to say something?
I was just going to quickly respond to Yvonne. I've been really tired and overwhelmed with activism and thinking many times in my life. And if we let that kind of shit stop us from representing what we believe in at all times, you know, they win. You know, and it's really hard sometimes when you've kind of alienated yourself, as a truther from, friends and family, normal life, the mainstream. And it feels very lonely sometimes. And it's often very, very much a thankless job. So I get it, but you're probably in a down, there's balance to it all. You're just in a downswing right now, and you're going to come back up, and you're going to, have days where you wake up and you're going to be stoked to do activism again. It's just hard sometimes, especially when, you're in the shit.
Yeah.
Can I say something quick?
Yeah, go.
Okay, because you were talking about a confusion. When there's division, there is confusion inside the being. But we also talked, Yvonne had a question about authority, and we talked about parental, but it also made me think about the archetypes of mother and father, and how we removed ourselves from Mother Nature, and how we now witness her as a witch instead of the nurturing mother. And that's why the ego wants so much control, because we can't settle down, and we are not systemic on the right place in our family cosmic system, if that makes any sense. I guess that's also part of the confusion and the division and the need for control, because we can't nurture ourselves with our mother, and we aren't guided by our father spirit, because we are disconnected. So that's the only thing I wanted to add. Because in objective reality, we know who we are, so everything is clear. There is no confusion inside.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a cool place to end it. And to avoid the confusion and the contusion of what that brings about in regards to chaos, in contrast to proper anarchy aligned to natural law. You know, like Mark Passio has the slides of the natural law expressions, and you have the column of, you know, being in that frequency, sound, song, vibration of agape love to natural law, or you're in that fear, confusion, chaos state that is going to lead to where we're currently enduring, unfortunately, because we all know the situation at hand with, you know, multiple hidden hands behind the scenes pulling strings, and it goes way the fuck beyond, you know, Jewish Zionist things that, you know, conspiratoids just want to spit out as if that's like the ultimate, you know, thing that's going on. Bitch, there's archons above all those motherfuckers on a 3D level, on a 11D fucking level. This is how manipulated things are in the cosmos in regards to fucking archons. And to be a proper anarchist, we need to break all these fucking seals throughout all dimensions to be a proper sovereign being, a multi-dimensional being on that shit, right? So yeah, speaking with conviction on these things that I know not even the half of, yet I aspire and am trying to evoke and inspire others listening out there to, you know, get on that level, right? Let's do this shit.
Yeah, that's the thing, Derek, isn't there? Because there's it's not just what's going on this level. There's stuff going on in all different levels that I'm very consciously aware of. So that's what I'm talking about, navigating. When I walk out my front door, I'm not just facing like authority, like a policeman or all that. That's fucking low level shit. I'm talking about other stuff, what people are being infiltrated with. It's navigating your way through that, like on a spiritual level. Like I'm not, like I am, like my body is my body, my emotions, my mental and my spiritual, none of that's disconnected. So I'm very consciously aware about what's going on with people. And I'll explain it more. I'll explain what I'm talking about more in one of my own podcasts, but it's very difficult to navigate, and hence why like I won't go back and live in the woods and live happy ever after, because I know that there's a war going on all levels, and it's it's tough. It's fucking tough. What's going on?
Okay, well, it's probably time to wrap it up. So
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, it's fine. It's good. So thank you so much, everyone. Anyone who would like to plug a channel or whatever they have going on the internet or off the internet, even better, go for it.
I got a weekly podcast called VGT Live on my at Jeffrey Phillips at YouTube. It's about morality, health, stuff like that, fun stuff. And then Allie's channel is
Just Let a Cult Revival on YouTube. I haven't done my show in a while, but I'll do videos kind of in the same vein. A lot of like getting into psychology and spirituality. But thanks for having us on.
Yeah.
Cool.
I do. I also have a suggestion. Maybe next week, that chaos theory. If maybe we could watch it over the week, and or in one of the next episodes, have a talk about it. It's like 4 hours, so it's kind of like Mark's natural law video. It's pretty long, so it'd be too long to watch here, but it would be great. I mean, if you want all the answers to who will build the roads and stuff, I know most of us know that, but this goes really deep into it. Very interesting piece, and it would be fun to talk about it.
I only know
sometime.
it from Jurassic Park. It's mentioned a lot there. But yeah, curious about it. Yes, it is.
Different chaos theory.
Different
yeah.
chaos theory, but
Right.
yeah, close.
I totally know the reference though.
Yeah.
Like that's what I thought of too.
People will look it up and be all, "What are you talking about, Jeffrey?"
Cool. So anyone else to plug their stuff?
Come on, awaken your mind.
Yeah, Mark. Derek.
All right, real quick, because if folks, I have several truth infused soundtracks to the movement with the music and all that stuff. Visions of Anarchy and the Free Society Project. Those are. It's gonna last at least 3 hours. Those two projects that I put out years ago. It's pretty cool. Touching on and hinging off of natural law principles that, yeah, good vibes, good stuff.
Awesome.
Cool. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much, and thanks to all the energy in the chat. There was a lot of fun stuff going on there, and for some of it a little frivolous, but that's cool. And so welcome everyone. Remember to like, subscribe, share, all of that kind of stuff. And thanks for joining us. And we haven't decided next week, but I have a feeling we might decide to stick on Anarchy and possibly send an invitation out to others. In fact, I'd like to do that right now, is to say, well, look, we know that there are different aspects to this movement, or whatever movement you want to call it. There are different people using the word anarchy. And, I think it might be interesting to reach out to some of them and say, hey, do you want to come on here and talk about anarchy, and invite them to watch this and come back. So that's a little thought I just had today. But regardless, we'll be back next week, either talking about anarchy or about another fascinating subject. And
I vote Anarchy.
And sorry, I'm not on the screen, am I? There I am, I'm back. And is there anything else I need to say? Yes, you can go and join our Telegram chat. The link is in the description. There's also lots of other good stuff in the description. And I think that's about it. Is there anything else I need to say, housekeeping wise? Anyone? No. Cool. Okay. And you can find all my stuff at nemojones.com. I think I said that at the beginning. So that's that. All right. Thanks, everyone. Great show. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
And here we go with the
Love this song.
With the outro. Cheers, guys.
Bow, bow,
Cheers.
bow, now.